Hi, Calvary kids. This is Bruce and Grace Snavely from Global Baptist Training Foundation. And we're answering the questions that you sent back to us today. So let's get right to it. Our first question that we got was from Kyla. And she asks, can you tell us a bit about Myanmar? Myanmar is the name for Old Burma as we knew it originally, but this is the native name, or the name that the original people gave it. And this is a typical East Asian country, so East Asian, and so much like the history that we read about in books of people carrying buckets around on sticks on their shoulders, and an old lifestyle without any modern conveniences. And Myanmar is really much like that today, without air travel and car transportation. They would still be very much like they were hundreds of years ago when the first Baptist missionary Adoniram Judson went there about 200 years ago and gave them the gospel. And today, 89% of this country is still Buddhist. And so there's a lot of work for us to do in Myanmar. So thank you for asking that question, Kyla.
And I want to answer Elena and Mason because they both ask really good questions about languages. But first, let me give you one more fun fact about Myanmar. Even the men wear skirts in Myanmar. They're called longi. And we actually have some. They've given them to both Dr. Bruce and to Mrs. Grace. And we have some of the longi from Myanmar.
But I'm not wearing them today.
But Elena asked what foreign languages we speak. And really, we don't speak any. I know a little bit of Spanish from high school. Dr. Bruce knows a little bit of French. But here's why we chose not to learn languages. We're in 15 different countries, and that's at least 14 different languages and sometimes dialects. What we wanted to do was go and train them. So we do, Elena, not learn the languages. But Mason, you're right. What do you do when you don't speak the language of a country? We have a translator. In every country, we have really, really good translators that know the Lord, that know the Bible, that most of the time these translators are Dr. Bruce or Mrs. Grace's translators, so they learn all the material and they get passionate about it. In fact, one of our translators for the last maybe 9 or 10 years, more than that maybe, is Fidel, who now is a full-time trainer for Global Baptist Training Foundation. He loved it so much that after translating for a few years, he said, I want to teach this material. And he does. He's in many countries. Those were great questions, Elena and Mason.
All right, from Avery, she asks, what is your favorite Bible verse? And I'm going to give you one of my favorite Bible verses today. I have many, but Galatians 2:20, and that is, for I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me.
And my favorite verse since I was a young girl has been Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and of good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not leave thee nor forsake thee.
All right, then we have a question from Jackson. How long does it normally take to teach one of your classes to pastors? And Jackson, that's a really good question. I mean, all these questions are really, really good. And so we're excited about the fact that you have been so intuitive to ask those insightful questions to us. Our classes last about 4 to 5 days. We've really cut them down to about 4 days now because we want the men who come from all over a particular country to be able to travel on Friday. So we finish up on Thursdays now, and we graduate those men from that particular course. So we start on Monday morning about 8 o'clock or 8:30. Then we go till about 4:30 or 5 each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We break for lunch about noon, and they have a lunchtime from about 12 to 1. We come back then and teach until 4 or 5 in the afternoon each day. So there's four full days normally. And then on Friday, we let them travel back to their places of where they live and where they minister. And then they can get back on Saturday at the latest and have time to get ready for their Sunday services in their own churches.
And then a few months later, we come back and do another class. And we do that until they finished our whole program, and they get all of the Bible core of any Bible college or seminary here in the United States. They get a full theological training.
And so we've got about 12 classes. We start with a subject called hermeneutics, or the interpretation, science of interpretation, how to interpret the Bible. Then we have bibliology, we have Christology, anthropology, ecclesiology, the study of the church, soteriology, the doctrine of salvation. We have homiletics, which is the study of preaching, how to build a sermon. And then we have church administration and church leadership. We have church history. We have introduction to the New Testament, introduction to the Old Testament. When they get all these courses done, then of course they can graduate. But we don't necessarily say you have to stop there. We have other courses which we can offer them, which will help them to become better ministers. And we've asked them, what is your most important thing that we could give you? If we could give you anything, what would it be? And they always say, training. We want to be trained. We want to know the most that we can know about the Bible and about ministry so that we can be effective. They know that knowledge is power. And so we give that to them. And it's amazing what God does when they're trained. They go out and they want to start churches. They want to evangelize. They want to reach places that have never been reached for Christ. We've seen hundreds of churches and thousands of people have come to Jesus Christ through Global Baptist Training Foundation's training ministry.
And they get excited and they want to take the material and train other pastors
that
haven't been able to come to our classes.
And that's what we tell them that they need to do. We don't tell them what they need to do. We're just simply equipping them and giving them the empowerment, and then they do all of the rest. You know why they can do it better than we can? Because they already know the languages. They already know how to speak and say everything that they need to say better than we could ever learn it in a lifetime. And then they already understand how to navigate the cultures that they live in. They know how to move and operate so effectively and efficiently. And they already care about the people that they live around. Many of them they're related to, and they love them and care for them. So they can do the ministry better than we ever could. And then finally, we have this question from Mason. What do you do when you don't speak the language of the country you're visiting? And Miss Grace already talked about that. We have translators. But these are all just great questions, guys. So thank you so much for being a part of what we do and being interested in what we do and supporting what we do with your prayers. And we look forward to interacting with you in the future. And if there's anything else that we could ever talk about Global Baptist Training Foundation, we would be happy to do it. God bless you as you continue your journey into missions.
Thanks,
God bless.
Calvary kids.
Bye-bye.